Okay, I think we can already start. We have maybe a few people left that will join us in a few minutes, but we can already start. I'm Eva Geentjes. I'm a colleague of Chantal. I'm working for the tourism department of the province of Antwerp, and I'm your moderator today in this breakout room. I just have a few practical issues that I want to tell you, and afterwards I will leave the floor to our presenter of the day. All audio will be switched off. Okay. If you have any questions during this webinar, you can use the chat function, and we will gather them after the presentation of Liesbet, and then I will ask her the questions that were raised, and then she will give you an answer. We have a 20 minutes presentation approximately, and afterwards we have a 5 or 10 minutes left for questions. Everything is also recorded today, so you will receive the link afterwards of this presentation, and also for the other presentations in other breakout rooms, you will also get the recordings, you will get a link to all the presentations, and you will also get a survey of this webinar today. So we will really like you to fill this survey in. Okay, so then it's time to introduce two people. As you have seen already, we also have an interpreter in this breakout room, Natasha, so very welcome. And our speaker of today is my colleague, Liesbet. She's also working at the Recreation and Tourism Department of the province of Antwerp. Since 10 years, she is specialized in barrier-free tourism. But I will let Liesbet introduce herself a little bit more. So the floor is yours, Liesbet.
Okay, thank you, Eva. I will try to go to the next slide, and this is already going wrong. What's happening? Everything worked before the workshop. Okay, here we go.
There it is.
Just had to wait. Okay, welcome to you all. Thank you, Eva, for introducing me already a little bit. So my name is Liesbet de Wit. I've been working for the province of Antwerp since 2009 for the Recreation and Tourist Department. And as Eva said, I've been specializing since 8-9 years in barrier-free tourism. So tourism for a lot of people, target groups, minorities, people with disabilities, but also people who live in poverty, people with a migration background, etc. I am 48 years old, for who is interested. I have long brown hair, but it's in a bun right now, so you can't see it. And what you also can't see is that I have a non-visible impairment. I have 2 hearing aids. So for me, the Zoom meetings are very nice. What am I going to show you today? So I will try to show you that you can adapt your communication in promotion in your spoken language to a large group of people to attract more people. That accessibility of information and communication is about more than just clear language. And then, most of all, very important, it's mostly about a mindset and not necessarily something that has to cost more. What I will show you are tips that I got from Visit Flanders, so the tourist department of Flanders. They gave me permission to use their tips. And I added some of my own examples and experiences to it. The presentation is not very dynamic. It's a little bit dry because I wanted to make it as accessible as possible to everyone. And also you will get a presentation afterwards, and then you can use it as kind of a brochure if you want to look back on how you can do it. I will try to talk not too fast so that the interpreter can follow, but if I go too fast, she will give me a sign. So my first tip is that inclusive communication is useful for everyone. I think the speakers before, like Ivor and Erdinch, already said something about it. You might think that if you are working on accessible communication, that it's for a small minority, but almost always, if you do something for a minority, it's more useful for a larger group of people, for young and old, with or without disabilities, and in all kind of situations. So I want you maybe just to close your eyes now and just think of a very hot day and night. We have a heat wave in Belgium at the moment. Maybe in your country it's the same. So this night I couldn't sleep very well. I'm very tired. I was a bit stressed for giving the presentation. So this morning when I was riding my bike, I was not really focused. So that's a state of mind or a context that is applicable to more than just one person that didn't sleep very well. It's applicable to people that are easily overwhelmed or chronically ill, etc. Of course, accessible communication is important for people with disabilities and older adults, but also if you use clear language, it's useful for newcomers in your country, people with low literacy skills, but of course also very important to you for foreign language tourists. What you can do always is take the needs of one specific target group into account. For example, if you make a video for your exhibition or a promotional video, then always add subtitles. It's useful for deaf people or people with an auditive impairment, but it's also useful, for example, for someone who is sitting in a waiting room or in a train and doesn't want to disturb other people. This is also something that I heard Ivor already saying, use respectful language. It's something that we don't think about maybe all the time, but for example, and it's a little bit difficult to give you the right examples because of course in every language it's different, but in Flemish we still say to people with disabilities minder valide, which is literally translated less valid or less valuable. So yeah, we try to banish the word and say people with a disability. There are other words like retarded. Please say people with a cognitive disability. Also some cultural sensitivities. I think we all know that we try to avoid the N-word, so rather talk about Black people, but most of all, consider always whether it is really necessary to describe people based, for example, on their skin color. Also, people with autism don't like to be called autists. All these kinds of sensitivities, they are of course different in every language. So you might want to contact a government agency or association working on inclusion or with people with disabilities. My third tip is use easy language, which sounds easier than it is, maybe. So again, I want to ask you to close your eyes and listen to a sentence that I will read out loud. So please close your eyes. Visitors are encouraged to explore the extensive walking paths in the park so that they can fully appreciate the diverse flora and fauna that inhabit this green landscape. So now you can open your eyes again. I can't see what you're doing, but I trust it that you are doing it. So this was a long sentence. I'm wondering whether your focus was there until the end of the sentence. Probably not. You'd rather say visitors can walk on the pathways to fully enjoy the park's plants and animals. Also sounds good and is a lot more clear to a lot of people. We try to avoid an active voice. We try to avoid a passive voice. So farms are built in squares. You'd rather say farmers built their houses in squares. Then always look for a simpler synonym for a difficult word. For example, if you have a hotel or a B&B, and you have some things that the guests can use, try not to use the word amenities, but rather facilities, or maybe even better, tell them you can use the whirlpool, the swimming pool, the garden for free. We are all working in a tourist or governmental context. We are used to some technical terms and formal language, but always be aware that not every guest knows that language. It's not the best example, but it was just one thing I came up. Cultural landmarks. It's quite fake. For us, it's clear maybe, but for a guest, it's quite fake. So you'd rather say places full of history. Also be careful with figurative language. Figurative language is not only difficult for people with autism, for example, but also for people who are not native speakers. For example, sparkling with history, then you can just say it's full of history. If you write a running text in your promotional brochures on the websites, don't use abbreviations. For us, they might seem evident, like WW1 is World War I, but not everyone has had the same history classes as we did, especially tourists from other continents. So just write it in full. And then use the same words for the same concepts to avoid confusion, even if this means repeating yourself sometimes. The fourth tip I give you is use an accessible layout. I especially chose this picture. It's from one of the projects we did with people with a visual impairment. So you see a woman who is standing in a museum. It's a museum of a local painter, so with only paintings. So you would think, how can this be interesting for someone who cannot see the paintings? But they did a lot of things to make the museum more accessible. For example, they made a very nice podcast. So it says on the sign, the most fantastic podcast in the world. And it is a really nice podcast with very describing stories for every painting. But most of all, people who are blind, they can use their cell phone to scan the QR codes and to listen to the stories or to the information. But they cannot find the QR codes. So what they did in this museum is making the QR codes in 3D, so with a little bit of relief, so they can feel where it is and then scan it with their cell phone. What else do I have about accessible layouts? Always align the text to the left, as I did here, to make the text more relaxing, not too overwhelming. Use a logical and clear structure. Leave enough white space, not only between paragraphs and sections, but even between the lines. And use bullet point lists where possible, not like, 3 pages of text, especially nowadays with people looking on their cell phones. It's just too much text to read. The use of colors, also something we don't think about very often. For example, in our department, we make the note maps, so the routes for cycling and hiking. And we use red for the hiking paths and green for the cycling paths. But especially people with color blindness find these two colors very difficult. So always see that there is another way of giving the information. For example, use a different font or pattern, or use an icon. Also, be aware of the contrast between the text and the background. And I put a link here behind the words this website, and there you can check if the contrast is high enough for people who are visually impaired. So, okay. Some more tips. You see two images on the right side. So if you have an image and on the foreground you put some text, it's not so clear for a lot of people. So put the text in a white text box and then it's easier to see. Also, look at the font that you are using. So for people who are visually impaired, the fonts with small lines at the ends of the letters. So I give the example here of Courier. So you see it has the lines underneath every letter. If people with a visual impairment see a word like that, it's one blur. So you'd rather choose fonts like Arial or Calibri or Verdana. Do not use too much underlined text or italic text except for foreign words. And yeah, use as many images and pictograms as possible to clarify the text. Also, very nice is to have an alternative text behind the image. And I showed you in the two images on the right side how to do it. So you go with your cursor, with your mouse on that photograph. You click the right button, and then you have this drop-down menu, and you see put alternative text here. And then underneath the second picture, you can see that I gave a description of the picture. In the foreground, we see a concrete post with note signs and signposts for the cycling routes. In the background, we see cyclists with disabilities on adapted bicycles. So try to make it a little bit colorful. I just learned about this anecdote that my colleague told me just before the workshop, that there is a Tennessee in the United States. They do not put just an alternative text behind the picture, but they made a song behind every picture. So yeah, it's something different, but I think it would be nice. Also something that I think Ivor already said, let's see, or no, it's something that Erdinch mentioned. Use images that appeal to everyone. So just have a look at your promotional material and wonder if it's really reflecting the diversity in your society. And I think Ergin said, look at the picture and see who is represented, but especially see who is not represented. And people who are not represented, they have a harder time in imagining that they are at the destination enjoying the products. I know from a lot of projects that I did that, you know, people, if they don't see themselves reflected in the pictures, they just don't feel welcome. So just look for people, pictures with a little bit more diversity. It can be something simple. Maybe not always a family with a mom and a dad and two children, but maybe you can put two women on the picture with two children. It doesn't imply anything. It can be friends or whatever. It doesn't matter, but it's just something different. Maybe something with a disability, but of course only as it fits your offer. If you are, for example, offering a hiking route and it's not accessible for people in a wheelchair, then there is, of course, no use in putting someone in a wheelchair on your picture. It's not always easy, of course, to get these kind of pictures. You can always ask your guests if you can take one, if they have some pictures. But also you can check your local tourist office or regional authority if they have more diverse pictures. So these were the tips that I used from Visit Flanders, but I also have some extra tips from experience from the projects that I did. The first one is from a project called World Travelers, where we worked with people with a migration background who screened our tourist offer in our province on accessibility for them. And one of their advices afterwards was just something very simple. List on your website the languages in which you can welcome guests. For them, it's really reassuring to know beforehand which language they will have to speak, if they can speak their own language or have to prepare something. Then something especially for tourists with disabilities, they prefer to receive accurate information about what is not accessible rather than incorrect information about what is accessible. So please always give correct information, give complete and detailed information with pictures, that show the situation and see that it's up to date. So you have to check it regularly if it's still okay. The needs of those groups are so diverse. So yeah, you have to give them the possibility to decide for themselves what is possible. Then when you develop a new product, it can be a route, an event, an exhibition, a flyer, or even a breakfast menu in your hotel. If you build a new or renovate an existing buildings, start a marketing campaign, you always have the criteria, the official criteria, but try to combine it with involving target groups from the start. And then the last one, and I think for me it's a very important one, never be afraid to ask. So it was also something I think Ivor said, just ask in general ways what people needs are. You don't have to do it in a stigmatizing way. You don't have to ask, do you want a halal breakfast? Just ask, for example, in your booking affirmation, if there are special needs for breakfast. It should a general way, and everyone who needs an adapted breakfast, who wants an adapted breakfast, can feel welcome. Also, if you have someone visiting your organization, your building, your attraction, and you see them entering, you see, for example, a blind visitor entering with a white cane, never just go to them and without asking them, just grab them by the arm and show them the way to the reception desk. I know it's meant well, but people don't appreciate it that suddenly they are grabbed by their arm. So just ask them if they need help and how they need help. Okay, so I think, wow, I have 1 minute left in my presentation. I hope it was clear for you, it was useful for you, but of course, if there are questions, please shoot.
Okay, thank you very much, Liesbet. I think it was a presentation with very, very clear tips, very practical tips, and they might seem obvious, but they are not obvious for everyone. So I think it was really a very practical presentation. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
You can indeed, if you have any questions, ask them in the chat, or you can unmute your microphone if you want to ask them that way. So. Okay. If there are no questions at the moment, I think it was very clear. So if you have still questions afterwards, you can always send a mail to our Inspires mailbox. As I said at the beginning, you will receive a mail with all the links to all presentations of today. So you can also have a look at the other interesting presentations. You will have the link to the recordings of today, and also you will be asked to fill in a survey about our webinar today. It will be very helpful for our project. You will not be returning to the plenary session, so we will end the webinar here. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. I will leave you now. So thank you, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.